I guess everything in here either has to be the first or the fastest or, the prettiest or whatever. That kind of is what drives me. And it's the story. Every car out here has a story. I've ended up with a few firsts, but not because I went out hunting for firsts. It just happened.
But the first Cobra, you call it the first Cobra, right?
That is the first Cobra.
I love that sentence.
Yeah.
That is the first Cobra. I mean, that's kind of unbelievable for me, but
yeah,
and unbelievable in a great way. Like, its presence right now with you. If you could tell us, obviously, if it's the first one off the line, that's fantastic, but how it came to you, maybe an interesting story for folks, or something about the way you own that and are the custodian of that car now. How does that all work?
I can tell it all.
I love it. Oh, man, I love it.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
So in 1965, I bought a Cobra. I've always had a Cobra.
Is that right? Okay,
Yeah,
I did not know
I
that.
say not always, but since the 60s.
Since they came out, you always have one.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
What's about his L.A. car guy?
It's
as it gets
L.A.,
for me.
American, and Shelby, And I would say a good friend of Carol Shelby's. So I would say my garage has switched from boulevard cars to race cars over the years. It's kind of trended that way. I had some fabulous street Cobras, but I just always wanted to find a Cobra race car that had significance. And with Cobras, and probably with a lot of, and Porsches, they had a rough life. And in the world of Cobras, there's probably a handful that I would even consider because, sometimes they put a new chassis on it or they put a new body on it or, it's just been, it's compromised to the point where I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that car is the one. Even though it may have the CSX number, it's just been it's too far gone and brought back. It's like washing the Zacks.
Yeah.
So anyways, with Cobras, if you have a Cobra, the first thing they ask you is what is your CSX number?
Sure.
Charlie Sierra X-Ray, CSX. So if it starts with a 2 or a 3, it's a real car, in my eyes. And if it's a 3 or 4 or 7 or whatever, they're still made by Shelby. And they're considered Cobras. But I just have to have like the real. Mm-hmm. And so the very first Cobra was the prototype, and that was CSX 2000. And so Shelby, I was a great admirer of Shelby, not of the way he did business. I'll just leave it at that because this is for public consumption. But he had a way, and he was a great salesman. He worked on everybody else's money. But he built the first Cobra in Dean Moon's shop. It was painted a lot of different colors, given to different magazines because nobody wanted to show the same blue car over and over and over.
And then it was yellow for a period of time, right? And it was a bunch of different things?
A bunch of different things. And that was CSX 2000. And that stayed in the Shelby family for his whole life. So one of the fellows that worked with Shelby was a fellow named Ed Hugas. And Ed Hugas is a really famous name in motorsport. I can spend all the rest of the podcast talking about Ed Hugas, but he really bankrolled and helped Shelby out when Shelby needed help. And he took delivery of CSX 2001, which is the car we have here. So how did I come about it? There's that expression, a blind squirrel will find a nut. Mm-hmm. That's me with that car. By the way, every car in here I've overpaid for because it's all kind of targeted purchases. Mm-hmm. But that car just fell into my lap in France 20-some years ago. I was at an event called Retromobile. And back then I was in the buying mode. So I went to setup day because setup day is, you get the preview look. So I saw this Cobra. Now I know my Cobras pretty well. And I saw this Cobra and the way it's, the profile, the way it's fit, it just didn't make sense to me, but it was on a very credible stand. This Lucas Hooney, who's a very famous...
Sure. The biggest stand at Retromobile, right?
Biggest stand at Retromobile. Yep. And by the way, it was then too.
Yep.
So here is this Aston Martin green Cobra, good looking thing with the big rear wheels. And I think, I got to ask about it. I wasn't interested in buying it because I knew it. I just figured it was just a made up thing. So Lucas, and I bought a Bugatti from Lucas, and he says, come with me. And he's a big Swiss guy. And he says, come with me. And I went with him and he said, sit here. And he comes back with like a milk crate full of documents. And he said, this is the first Cobra ever built. And I'm going, really? I don't think so. But he brought all the paperwork out. it's only had like 4 owners. I mean, it has had a clear title. And one of the things, when you're buying a race car, provenance matters, and continuous history, continuous ownership. Like if it goes away for 4 years, people don't know where it went, I'd be very careful. So he had every owner, and it turned out that time that I bought it, every owner all the past owners came to Retromobile that year. I thought, damn. So I bought it. Then I sent it over here to a fellow named Mike McCluskey, who's kind of the guru of Cobra restorations. And we stripped it down, absolutely positively, the original body, original interior, original chassis. You could see where they grafted the, rack and pinion on. I mean, it was so pure and so perfect and so authentic. It just warmed my heart. So anyways, I painted it black, put a number 1 on it. It actually ran with number 1, but I put number 1 for the significance of the car. And that was 20 years ago, and we've had on the Colorado Grand, we take it to a lot of Cobra events. And let me just answer another question.
Oh, please.
What's my favorite car?
I love this.
That one.
That one's your favorite.
There's something about that car that just, you feel good just sitting in it and starting it. And it's quick enough that, you can hurt yourself in it. And it's slow enough that you're not going, 3-digit speed in a city block. And it checks every box for me. And it's my generation, and it is the first one. And there's only one number 1. And I could sell some of the cars in here and maybe buy them back at a later date or buy something equivalent. But there's only one number 1 Cobra, and that just resonates with me.